Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaya Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayanti Nashtaprahe Yogatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevai Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhagavati Nashtake. So continuing with the discussion on Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita by Satsavada Goswami, Volume 1, Chapter 36. Prabhupada is in Africa, Mombasa, Kenya, or some other place. Srila Prabhupada's activities during the years 1968 to 1971 established him as a Shaktavesh avatar, and he fulfills the predictions of the scriptures. Prithvi te aache yat nagaradigram sarvatra prachar haibe mara. In all the villages and towns all over the world, everywhere, the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya will be preached. So this was mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mahaprabhu himself said that. But till Prabhupada came to America, nobody, and he established ISKCON, started preaching, nobody could understand how is this possible, this statement of Mahaprabhu. And who's going to make it possible? Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj also sent some of his sannyasi disciples to London to preach, and he would send money from India for their maintenance. Still, they could not preach. They just, I think, they just preached to few, made some few. I don't even think they made initiated devotees, just few well-wishers. Not to say that they were not pure or empowered, but not like empowered like Prabhupada. So nobody could understand this statement of Chaitanya Charitamrita. What Mahaprabhu is saying, how is it possible? Prithvi te aache, in all villages and towns all over the world. And now, look at the work that Prabhupada has done. I mean, it's still not all over the world. We have reached in all villages and towns, but still the presence is there. And people do know of ISKCON. Even from the viewpoint of religious history, Prabhupada's preaching was a fulfillment of the mission of Lord Chaitanya, who had appeared in West Bengal about 500, who had appeared in West Bengal about 500 years before Krishna consciousness came west. The Vedic literature and the Vaishnava Acharyas concur that Lord Chaitanya is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, appearing in this age as a pure devotee of the Lord. And just as Lord Krishna appeared with his plenary expansion, Lord Balram, Lord Chaitanya appeared with Lord Balram's incarnation for Kali Yuga, Lord Nityananda. Srila Prabhupada can be appreciated not only generally as an empowered representative of God, but specifically as a manifestation of Lord Nityananda. Because the mercy Lord Nityananda had, and he showed, like Jagai Madhai and other ruffians of Bengal and Odisha, Prabhupada showed more mercy than him, actually. According to Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, Lord Krishna manifests himself to the souls of ordinary men through Lord Nityananda. The individual soul requires the help of God to realize God. This help comes by the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda, who is therefore known as the original Guru. Although Lord Nityananda is a direct expansion of Lord Chaitanya, his pastime is to serve Lord Chaitanya by redeeming the fallen souls. In fact, there was one incident. One devotee, one of the temples, he was in charge of accounts department, and he stole money, and temple management kicked him out. Somehow Prabhupada came to that city, that temple, and that devotee came and he cried before Prabhupada, and I made a mistake or this or that. And Prabhupada just reinstated him, okay, just take him back. and put him in charge of finances again. The temple president was saying, no, Prabhupada, no, it's okay, give him a chance. And he did it again. He stole money again, and temple president kicked him out. And somehow, after whatever time, Prabhupada again came back to that temple and again found her, and that devotee again came to Prabhupada crying, please help me. And Prabhupada reinstated it. But Prabhupada told them, if you ever steal money again, I'm going to disown you. And asked temple president to look into it. So Tamal Krish Maharaj was a servant of Prabhupada. And he asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, would you really disown him? Prabhupada, with tears in his eyes, he said, no, I cannot do that. I just had to chastise him, but I cannot disown him. Lord Nityananda, mercy is unlimited. Prabhupada didn't say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said Nityananda Prabhu's mercy is unlimited. I cannot disown. So this was Prabhupada's word. And even his chastisement was for the benefit of that devotee. So I don't know what happened to him again, whether he stole money again or not, I have no idea, but this is the only part of it. Lord Nityananda and his representative, the spiritual master, do not alter the scriptures or the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, or of Lord Krishna, but make them more accessible and understandable. Lord Chaitanya commissioned Lord Nityananda to preach the holy name at everyone's door. And Lord Nityananda's exemplary mood of vigorous, compassionate preaching was also the mood of Srila Prabhupada. As Srila Prabhupada imparted this mood to his disciples, they in turn went out into the streets of cities around the world to distribute to everyone the mercy of the holy name of God. Lord Nityananda is especially renowned for saving two drunkard brothers, Jagai and Madhai, even though they had assaulted him when he had attempted to bless them with the holy name. In Lord Nityananda's time, Prabhupada on several occasions explained there were only one Jagai and Madhai, but now the whole world is filled with Jagais and Madhais. That is true. And at least Jagai and Madhai of Navdvip, they had some Brahminical background. And they were in Navdvip, Holy Dham. But now Jagai and Madhais all over the world, sinful people, drunkard and rapists and doing all sorts of nonsense, they are all over the world. And Prabhupada was recruiting his disciples from these Jagais and Madhais. Srila Prabhupada fully displayed Lord Nityananda's compassion in taking all risks and freely giving the holy name. And another thing Prabhupada did about establishing the mercy and compassionate mood of Lord Nityananda, that before Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, whenever he established temples, he always installed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna deity on one altar. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, Nahi Anya. So they could be on one altar. But Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj established temples in India only, in Gaudiya Math. But Prabhupada, when he came to the West, he understood that these Western people, they need more mercy than what Mahaprabhu was giving. So he knew that they need mercy of Lord Nityananda. So then when Prabhupada established temples, he always installed Gaur Nitai on one altar and Radha Krishna on one altar, or Jagannath Baldev Subhadra. But Gaur Nitai had to be established. So he's the one who established Lord Nityananda's deities all over the world. Because we need the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu to get the mercy of Chaitanya and then further to get Krishna Prem. Even Lord Nityananda himself, during his appearance in India, did not approach as many fallen souls as Srila Prabhupada, nor did he approach souls in such degraded conditions of life or in so many rejected parts of the world. But he has done so now through his representative, Srila Prabhupada. As a recipient of the combined mercy of God Nitai, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, Srila Prabhupada blessed the world with love of God. Srila Prabhupada, however, never described himself as a great empowered personality, either in public or among his disciples. But he stressed that he was in disciplic succession, carrying the authorized knowledge. And he encouraged his disciples to take the same position. We want to create many pure devotees so that other people will benefit by their association. In this way, the number of pure devotees increases. Prabhupada knew well that propagating Krishna consciousness was not a professional business, although in India many professionals spoke or wrote on Srimad Bhagavatam to earn their livelihood. They could not convert materialistic people to devotional service. Only a pure devotee could change the materialistic heart. So only a pure devotee could change the materialistic heart. Because the purpose of scriptures, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and other scriptures, is first not to make money, not to like a professional Bhagavatam Sapta and earn money by exchanging the emotional sentiments of people. It's to transform the heart of a person, the listener. And if the speaker's heart is not purely placed, how is he going to transform the heart of the audience? This faith has to be there, and the purification has to be there. And Prabhupada, it said only pure devotee could change the materialistic heart. So it takes a really strong person to preach properly. Prabhupada did not even conclude that he was a pure devotee, only that he was a servant of a pure devotee, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, his Guru Maharaj. Prabhupada prayed that before he left the world, he could create a living family of pure devotees to spread the parampara teachings of Krishna consciousness and protect them from being changed or obscured. He emphasized that all the preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement could become pure devotees by following the regulatory principles, avoiding sinful life, and regularly chanting Hare Krishna. Only in this way, he said, could the devotees have an effect on others. It's only in this way. So more we are surrendered, more Krishna's mercy, Guru Parampara's mercy, Prabhupada's mercy works through us to help transform the hearts of others. Even this works in every service in Krishna consciousness. Especially we have seen book distribution. It only works when we surrender, when we pray to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, please help me in serving your mission. Then the books really flow out. We have seen that. October 18, 1971. Having spent a busy 5 weeks in Africa, Prabhupada was ready to travel on to India. His plan was to visit Bombay, Calcutta, and Delhi. He had made a strong beginning for ISKCON in India with land in Mayapur and centers in Bombay, Calcutta, and New Delhi. And he had groups of disciples strategically located in other parts of India. Indians were recognizing ISKCON and appreciating its festivals, kirtans, and prasad. Life members were offering service and being benefited. They were receiving and reading ISKCON publications, and they were helping support the ISKCON centers. And this was only a start. To get a foothold anywhere, whether in India, Africa, America, or Russia, was certainly a great accomplishment. But a foothold was not enough. Although much had been done to establish the mission of Lord Chaitanya, much more remained to be done. Preaching Krishna consciousness was not a job that at some point would be completed, because it's an unlimited world. First of all, unlimited number of souls are there. And more entangled souls will keep on coming. Of course, in one sense, it was already complete and perfect. Prabhupada's preaching had always been successful, even when he had struggled alone in India to make his message heard through Back to Godhead magazine. the League of Devotees, and his translations of Srimad Bhagavatam. He had always remained fixed in the transcendental order of his spiritual master in Krishna. Therefore, he had been successful. The Krishna consciousness movement was already complete, and now, by the will of its author, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this completeness was becoming manifest. But the work, the ecstasy, the samadhi of selflessly and single-pointedly serving that mission was unending and ever unfolding. Now, there was a foothold in Africa. Tomorrow he would fly to Bombay, where Krishna had already allowed him a foothold. And as Krishna desired, he would continue to travel and to send his devotees and his books and his message until he reached every town and village in the world. So this was his plan. This was Mahaprabhu's plan. And even at this old age, Prabhupada was traveling, preaching vigorously, motivating his disciples, encouraging, and looking at every aspect of temple management and helping his disciples, how they can grow. Not just that, starting farm communities, Govinda restaurants, and especially printing books, how to print more and more books. So, well, thus ends chapter 36. We can start chapter 37. The land is yours, Calcutta, March 1970. It was midnight. Srila Prabhupada sat on a pillow behind his low desk, his light the only one on in the building. All the other devotees were in bed. On the desk before him rested the dictating machine and a volume of Srimad Bhagavatam in Bengali commentary. A small framed picture of a spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, sat between two small vases of roses and asters. On the floor beyond the desk was a broad mat covered with white cotton fabric, where a few hours before devotees and guests had sat. But now he was alone. Although usually he retired at 10, rising 3 or 4 hours later to translate. Tonight he had not rested, and his Bhagavatam lay closed, his dictating machine covered. He had sent two of his disciples, Tamal Krishna and Balimardan. Yes, Balimardan Maharaj was there. Oh, Balimardan Prabhu, to purchase land in Mayapur. 6 days had passed, however, and still they had neither returned nor sent word. He had told them not to return until they had completed the transaction. But 6 days was more than enough time. He was anxious, thinking constantly of his two disciples. A breeze arrived, carrying the fragrance of neem trees through the open window. The night was becoming cool, and Prabhupada wore a light chadar around his shoulders. Absorbed in thought, leaning against a white bolster pillow, he paid little attention to the familiar sights in his room. A clay jug with drinking water sat beside him, and a potted tulsi plant sat upon a small wooden pedestal. The electricity off most of the day and night was now on, and moths and other insects hovered around the bare bulb overhead. A lizard patrolled the ceiling, occasionally darting towards near the light to capture an insect. Why were Tamal Krishna and Balimardan taking so long? It had been more than just a wait of 6 days. He had been trying to obtain land in Mayapur for years, and this time the prospects had been excellent. He had clearly instructed Tamal Krishna and Balimardan, and by now they should have returned. The delay could mean a complication or even danger. The land they were trying for was a 9-bigha plot on Bhakti Siddhanta Road, less than a mile from the birth site of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Sheikh brothers, Muslim farmers who owned the plot, had been asking a high price. Only recently had a Calcutta lawyer familiar with Navadvip been able to seriously negotiate a fair price. The Sheikh brothers had settled for 14,500 rupees. That time, 1971, this was a huge amount. And Prabhupada had authorized withdrawal of the funds from his bank in Krishnanagar. The Tamal Krishna and Balimardan had left for Mayapur, while Prabhupada had remained in Calcutta, carrying on with his affairs, but thinking often of the activities of his disciples in Mayapur. Their mission was very important to him, and he kept them in his mind, personally blessing them with his concern. Prabhupada wanted an ISKCON center in Mayapur. It was a desire that had increased within him as his movement had increased throughout the years. He could easily visit or live in Mayapur, that was no problem, but he needed a place for his disciples. His spiritual master had ordered him to preach in the West, and now with the success of his Krishna consciousness society, the Western Vaishnavas required a center in Mayapur where they could reside and worship and receive the immense benefit of the holy dham. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had stressed the great importance of Mayapur, and some of his sannyasi disciples had temples there. Why shouldn't the International Society for Krishna Consciousness also be able to take shelter of Mayapur? And this was the beginning, 9 bighas of land. And now ISKCON has grown so big in Navadvip, Mayapur. I think we have about 5,000 acres, something like that, if I'm not wrong. But this was Prabhupada's mood. And then Mayapur became the headquarters of ISKCON. Earlier it was Los Angeles, but Mayapur became, of course, that's the place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or the Panch Tattva. So aptly, Mayapur is the headquarters. And now we're building such a huge temple of Vedic planetarium in Mayapur. Since birth, Prabhupada had been aware of the significance of Lord Chaitanya and his dham, Sri Mayapur. He had grown up in Calcutta, where everyone knew of Lord Chaitanya. And because his father, Gaur Mohan Dey, had been a pure devotee of Lord Chaitanya, from childhood he had sung the Bengali songs of Gaur Nitai and their pastimes in the land of Gauda. He had imbibed deeply the teachings and pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, especially after meeting his spiritual master in Calcutta in 1922. Lord Chaitanya had spent his first 24 years in Mayapur and Navadvip. Yet since his manifest pastimes there, almost 500 years ago, the places of those pastimes had been obscured, the Lord's birthsite lost, and his teachings confused and misused. Despite the disciplic line of pure devotees from Lord Chaitanya, now until the advent of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the father of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, did Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement and pure teachings begin to emerge. Bhaktivinoda Thakur published many books and preached to re-establish the intellectual, moral, and spiritual integrity of the Chaitanya Vaishnavism. He researched and explored the land of Navadvip, ascertaining the exact birth site of the Lord. Citing Vedic evidence, he established that many previous incarnations of Vishnu had enacted pastimes in Navadvip. So that's also true. But it had been obscured since, I won't say since Mahaprabhu left, but then 6 Goswamis were there, then other acharyas were there, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baldev Vidyabhushan. But slowly, the real Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Vaishnavism was gone. And the sentimentalist, they had pretty much taken over. So people didn't have faith in what kind of Vaishnavism is this. They would do all sides of nonsense things. Upsampradaya, 13 upsampradayas had become. Until Bhakti Vinod Thakur came. And even for him to get a copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita, it took him 2 years. He was a High Court judge, still he could not get a bona fide copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. What to speak of understanding the philosophy and establishing, but he worked hard. And that is why he prayed to the Lord that I cannot do it alone. Please send me a preacher. And that's when he had Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj as a son, born as a son in Jagannath Puri. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj preached very vigorously all over India. He was called Simha Guru. He was so scholar and such a heavy preacher. People would be afraid of coming in front of him. But he could only do to a certain extent. And then when Prabhupada came, he took this message further. Of course, other disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj also are preaching Gaudiya Math, different factions of Gaudiya Math, but not as much as what Prabhupada did. So anyway, we can stop here. So tomorrow is Janmashtami. So you all will be busy in the morning, going to temple and the park, so we can have a break in our class. And day after tomorrow is Prabhupada's appearance day. So we'll have a class on that day, Sunday. So see anybody has any questions or comments?
Nice class, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mata. You
Happy
all,
Janmashtami, Prabhuji.
thank you, Mata. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.